Hi everyone, welcome back again to my YouTube channel. My name is Osereme. If today is your first time seeing my videos, thank you so much for stopping by. Hit on the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that you get notified when I upload a new video. In today's video, as you can already see, I'm going to be sharing with you guys how to make this simple fringe top with African print. So if this is something you're interested in learning how to make, keep on watching and let's get started with this tutorial. So guys, to make this top you need about 2 yards of fabric. What I have here is 100% African print, and I think you can use any fabric of your choice, but you should have at least 2 yards of fabric, and it also depends on your size as well. Now to cut out this top, I'm going to be starting with the front. I have my fabric folded into two, as you can see, and I had to measure to be sure that this fabric I folded is going to just be enough for me to cut out the front of this blouse. So for the length, I wanted the blouse to be about 18 inches long by the time I'm done, and what I had here was 20 inches for the cutting. Okay, so that's perfectly enough. Now for the width of the blouse, I had to make sure that after dividing my bust measurement by 4, which is somewhere here, I still had some extras to give me allowances for the body and also to use for ease. So once this is done, we cannot go ahead and start taking our body measurement. So from the folded center at the top, I am going to go in by 3 inches for the neck width for this blouse. So I'll go in by 3 inches. And for the depth, because I'm drafting this out of my actual fabric, I'm going to be coming down by 4 inches. So I'll connect these 2 points together with my curve to give me a round neckline. So now after this, from the center again, I'm going to go in by half of my shoulder measurement, which is 7 inches. But because this is going to be a free blouse, I'm going to add an extra 1 inch to it. So instead of using 7 inches, I marked it at 8 inches. Now from the top of this fabric here, I went down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and I'm going to connect it to meet the top of the neckline. So after this, from this new line, I'm going to determine my armhole depth, which is gotten by dividing your bust measurement by 6 and adding 1.5 to what you get. So my bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1.5 is 7 inches. But I marked it here at 7.5 inches because this is also going to be free. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and draw a straight line across this point here that I just got. So once this is drawn, from the shoulder here, I'm also going to connect a line to meet the other line I drew before. Just the 2 blue lines. I hope you guys understand. So because this way we are trying to draw out our armhole. So now on this first line I drew, I'm going to divide my bust measurement by 4 and I'm going to make a point here. Then I'm going to add an extra 2 inches for ease and extra 1 inch for stitching allowance. So I'll be connecting the last point to meet the line that I drew out earlier, just like I'm doing like this. So just connect the last point to meet this line like this, and just take it all the way to the shoulder, so that way you've drawn out your armhole. So now from this armhole, I'm just going to draw a straight line all the way to the end of the fabric. So guys, that's all for the drafting out of the front pattern. I'm just going to go ahead and cut it out now, following the lines that I have drawn out. So now once this is done, now I'm going to use this to cut out the back. For the back, you also need to place 2 pieces of fabric right sides facing each other like this. And I went ahead to draw a straight line across for my zipper allowance. Now the distance from the end of the fabric to the zipper allowance line was 1.5 inches. So I'm going to place my front pattern exactly on the zipper allowance line. Like I said, I measured everything to be sure it was going to be enough. So once you place the center of your front on the zipper allowance line, I am going to come down by 2 inches for the back neckline and connect it to meet the neckline that we already had in front, just like I'm doing here. So once you've done this, the next thing is to just go ahead and cut out the back neckline and then cut out every other part following the way it is in front. So once this is done, I am just going to go ahead now and cut out facing for both the front and back neckline. So guys, I've cut out the facing for the front and back neckline, and I've gone ahead to stitch all the way around the ends of the facing. So now I'm placing it around the neckline, and I'm just going to go ahead and pin it down like this, and I'll head over to the sewing machine and stitch it around. I am also going to do the same thing for the back pieces as well. For the back, you have to cut out 2 facings, and you're just going to go ahead and also pin it around the neckline and stitch it down. Let me take you back to a time when love was as precious as diamonds. So guys, I'm done stitching the facing around the neckline now, and this is what the front is looking like. I did the same thing for the back pieces as well. So this is what I have for the 2 back pieces. This is what the inside is looking like. So I'm going to go over to the sewing machine now, and I'm going to stitch down the shoulders. But how I like to do that is to arrange the shoulders and use one of the facing to turn everything around. If you follow my channel, you will see me doing this a lot. So once I use one of the facing to turn the whole neckline, I'm going to go ahead and pin it down, do the same thing for the other side as well, and stitch it down. So guys, after I was done stitching it down and turning it over to the right side, this is what the shoulder area is looking like. If you open it up, you see how it looks like here. So for the neckline, I'm going to have to hem the neckline later, whether with the hemming gum or needle and thread. And now we're going to go ahead and work on the sleeve. For the sleeve, I went ahead to cut out a basic short sleeve. I already hemmed the ends. So I'm just going to go ahead and attach this to the armhole area. Normally, from what I see in the picture we're trying to follow, they actually did this like a kimono. So the sleeve was attached to the cloth when they were cutting this. But I had to do mine separately, create a sleeve, because of the fact that I didn't have enough fabric to be able to cut out a kimono kind of style. So I had to cut mine like a normal blouse and then attach the sleeve, which is something that still gives you exactly what is on the model. So I'm attaching my sleeve on the armhole area now, as you can see. So it's actually very easy. Just arrange it all the way around and pin it down. And after that, I'm going to just go over to the sewing machine to stitch these areas that are pinned, and I will do the exact same thing for the other sleeve as well. So guys, I'm done stitching down the sleeves for both sides, and this is what it looks like. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn everything over to the wrong side. Okay, so go ahead and turn your blouse over to the wrong side, and from the sleeve, go ahead and pin it down. So I'm going to continue to pin all the way to the end of one side like I'm doing here, and I will go ahead and stitch it down with about 1 inch stitching allowance on the side, and I'll do the same thing for this other side of the blouse as well. So guys, after I was done stitching it down, this is what it's looking like so far. Next thing is for us to work on the opening at the back. So I'm going to go ahead and arrange the 2 pieces of the back like you see me doing like this. And from the top, I'm going to measure about 8 inches down, and I made a mark there. So from this mark towards the end of the blouse, I will make a tight stitch, and from the mark towards the upper part of the blouse, I'll fix my zipper. So guys, after that was done, this is what I have. So the zipper is just for me to be able to easily put this around my neck. That's it. So it doesn't necessarily need to be very long. So now the next thing is for us to work on the fringe that's going to be under this blouse, and I have already cut them out here. Now let me just use one to show you guys the length of the fringe and the dimensions that it has. So for the length, I have 20 inches here, and then for the width, I have 2 inches. So I actually cut out about 18 inches of these pieces all together to go around the blouse. So I'm going to go over to the sewing machine now and fold this like a bias. So just like you see me doing like this, it's very simple. Just go ahead and fold it, or you can just fold a very long piece first and then just cut it into tiny pieces. Whichever one you decide to do is exactly the same thing. So it's just the same way you fold your bias. So I'm going to go ahead and just fold this in, and I will do the same thing for all the other 17 pieces. So guys, I'm done stitching it down now, and this is what I have. So I'm going to be placing it underneath the blouse that we already made. First, I'll have to measure. So from one end to the other, I measured to know exactly the distance I'm going to be giving my pieces. Since I had 18 pieces, it means that I have to have 9 in front and 9 at the back. So I decided to give each piece a distance of 2.5 inches. So I made the marks in front, and I'm also going to make them at the back as well, still using the 2.5 inches. So by the time I'm done with everything, I had a total of 18 points, which is the same number of ruffles I have of fringes I have. Now if you want to make it fuller, you can make more ruffles, but what I have now is 18. That was what the amount of fabric I had left was able to give me. So I'm pinning my fringe on each of the points that I made, and I'm pinning them towards the body of the blouse. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pin this all the way around, and I'm going to head over to the sewing machine and make a top stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and make a stitch all the way around this area here, and then I'll place the remaining pieces and do the same thing to the back. So guys, I'm done stitching it all the way around now, as you can see. Now I am going to go ahead and use a bias to pipe around the end of the blouse. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it on the end like this, and I'm going to go ahead and pin it all the way around the end of the blouse. So when you're doing this, you want to also make sure that the fringe that we just did are also still facing the body of the blouse. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just pin this all the way around. I'll just pin it to a certain extent first, and I'm going to head over to the sewing machine and just stitch it. So I'll stitch it on one end all the way around first. So after I was done stitching it all the way around, this is what it looks like. So now you can now bring down all the fringes that you folded for you to be able to finish it up. So now I'll fold other parts of the bias in, but first you need to now bring down the fringes. They're not going to be going up anymore. So you bring them down and then fold the bias to the body of the blouse. So I'm just going to pin it down for a few places and show you guys what I mean. So you just pin the bias to the body of the blouse, and it's going to look something like this when you turn it over to the front. So I'll just go ahead and make a stitch all the way around, just like I've pinned it down like this, all the way around the end of the blouse. And that will basically be all for the making of this simple blouse. It's actually very simple. So after I was done, this is what the bias is looking like on the inside, and this is how the fringe will come down, everything looking nice and neat. So thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I will see you in my next one. Bye.